Greg Norman, the man behind the success of the Rebel League circuit, might be on his way out of the organization. Greg is undeniably a divisive figure, which has further complicated the stance of the LIV Golf venture on whether he gets to keep his office or relinquish it to a perceived more capable individual. While most people are of the opinion that the Great White Shark and commissioner of the Saudi-backed tour might soon be replaced or fired, others believe he's here to stay. Considering the raging controversy between the PGA Tour and LIV Golf, with PGA Tour players including Tiger Woods and world number one Rory McIlroy calling on Norman to resign, and the LIV Golf commissioner coming under fire for his comments on Saudi Arabia's terrible human rights record, maybe his days as the CEO of LIV Golf are numbered. But which of the speculations is correct? Stay tuned to find out. Greg Norman was labeled the Great White Shark by a reporter in the 1981 Masters, but he started exhibiting all the traits of that deep-sea creature long before that. Born on February 10, 1955, to Mervyn, an engineer, and Towini Norman, a homemaker and an accomplished golfer, Greg, in his formative years like today, never did anything midway. Not only did the young Norman, whose elder sister Janice and parents still reside in his native country Australia, have an interest in rugby and Australian rules football, but he also spent his time fishing, swimming, and playing contact sports with friends. However, when he was 15, he decided to give golf a try with the intent of succeeding. It all started when he offered to caddy for his mom during a regular midweek game. Following the round, Greg asked if he could borrow her clubs for putting practice. And the rest, they say, is history. It was somewhat inexplicable to his mom that this teenage boy who never had a passion for golf would become one of the greatest players the game has ever seen. Only 2 years removed from his first day at Virginia Golf Club in Brisbane, Australia, Greg was a scratch golfer who averaged par or better each time he played. Norman worked as a PGA trainee in his native country for the next couple of years, playing amateur and open tournaments before turning pro in 1976, barely 6 years after caddying for his mom. From the days he worked as a trainee in the Royal Queensland Golf Shop in the mid-70s when he made $38 a week, Norman has earned more than $1 million 5 times on the US PGA Tour. This includes 3 Arnold Palmer Awards as the PGA Tour's leading money winner in 1986, 1990, and 1995. Greg was also the very first person in the history of the tour to surpass $10 million in career earnings. However, his crowning achievements are the 1986 and 1993 British Open Championships and his near wins at the Masters tournament, notably the '96 tournament, where Greg squandered a 6-stroke lead entering the final day to lose to Nick Faldo by 5 shots. During his career, Greg won 91 professional tournaments around the globe, including 20 PGA Tour titles and 71 international. He registered 29 top 10 finishes in majors. He also held the ranking of top golfer in the globe for a total of 331 weeks, which Tiger Woods later broke in 2004. And while Greg's well-documented wins on the course earned him a spot in the World Golf Hall of Fame, the Australian pro golfer continues to work at both his game and an enterprise that promises to succeed even after his playing days are behind him. Norman serves as CEO and chairman of Great White Shark Enterprises, a multinational conglomerate that comprises several companies, including Greg Norman Wine Estates, Greg Norman Australian Prime, Southern Cross Development, Greg Norman Golf Course Design, Greg Norman's Australian Grill, Greg Norman Interactive, Greg Norman Production Company, and many other licensing and merchandising initiatives. The successful entrepreneur has designed more than 70 golf courses, and that's not all. His Shark brand of golf sportswear, equipment, and wine became one of the most notable logos in the golf world. The 67-year-old learned long ago that golf could be a platform for something greater, and he has successfully transcended the game to become one of the most successful athlete-turned-entrepreneurs in history. 2021 was a year his age-long dream of spearheading a rival league to the PGA Tour became a reality. He was made the chief executive of the Saudi-backed Golf Series, which sponsored a tour that offered mouth-watering deals and multi-million-dollar paydays to PGA players. And as expected, he was heavily criticized for his involvement in LIV, with many speculating that it was only an attempt by the Saudis to sports wash its human rights abuses. Norman has been a divisive figure and was even criticized in May for comments on Saudi Arabia's terrible human rights record. While he attended an event to promote his new circuit, most questions surrounded the murder of the Saudi journalist at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul and accusations of sports washing. His response was disturbingly nonchalant as he suggested we've all made mistakes. Everybody has owned up to it, right? The Australian international said. It has been discussed from what I've read and based on what you guys reported. No matter what it is, take ownership. Look, we've all made mistakes and you just have to learn from them and ensure you can better them moving forward. However, Greg has undeniably been a positive element in LIV's spectacular development. The former world number one has seen the LIV progress to a full-fledged competitor to the PGA Tour from a discarded notion. Now, a man who has committed his life and a greater part of his career to developing something that is now capable of rivaling the age-long PGA Tour is being asked to step aside, or in this case is asked to move up to an uncertain higher position, only to be replaced by a man named Mark King. But who is Mark King, and what exactly has he done to make a perfect replacement for Greg Norman? Mark is an accomplished businessman who has successfully led 2 sports companies. Currently serving as Taco Bell's chief executive officer, Mark has been in the spotlight for the past few weeks after meeting with the Saudi Public Investment Fund governor, Yasser Al-Rumayyan. The former chief executive officer of TaylorMade Adidas Golf Company graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay. In the sports marketing industry, King is a household name, and during his tenure as TaylorMade's chief executive, the company witnessed immense success, growing from $300 million to over $1.7 billion. King spent 34 years at TaylorMade and was promoted from territory sales to the company's president before becoming the company's CEO in 2002. In June 2014, Mark joined Adidas, doubling its market share in just 3 years. He also created suitable working conditions for his employees, doubling the number of staff. Before King left Adidas in 2018, where he served as the brand's North American president, the company had $4.2 billion in sales in fiscal 2017, which was increased by 27% from the previous year. After working with the brand for over 5 years, Mark joined Taco Bell, where he was tasked with the responsibility of driving the overall brand strategy. Taking his 40 years of work experience into consideration, Mark possesses a fantastic knowledge of advertising and sports marketing and has credentials to become the next chief executive of LIV Golf. But when the rumors became rife, the tour's managing director, Majid Al-Saror, was quick to shut down the notion in a statement. Greg Norman remains our commissioner and CEO. Any rumor that his title is changing is erroneous, he concluded. Al-Saror wasn't the only one to dispel the rumors, as Greg's son, Norman Jr., took to Twitter to voice his displeasure, calling it a propaganda machine in action. And as if the Aussie pro golfer hasn't had enough, PGA Tour players Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy called on Greg Norman to resign his role as chief executive of LIV Golf in order for both tours to coexist. At the Hero World Challenge in the Bahamas, where Tiger was a host but didn't participate, he spoke to the media, aiming squarely at the coexistence of the PGA Tour and LIV Golf. Without mincing words, Woods said Greg Norman has got to leave in order for both sides to have an amicable relationship. First of all, Greg has to go, said Woods. And then any legal action brought against us and any countersuit we brought against them would also need to be put on hold. So then we can talk. We can all talk freely. Woods restated a claim made by Rory McIlroy at the DP World Tour Championships 2 weeks prior, according to which Norman's behavior as the CEO of LIV Golf has made it impossible for the two parties to agree. Rory called on Greg to leave his role at the Rebel League to get an adult in the room to help put an end to the stalemate in the dispute between both tours. Rory said, "I think Greg needs to exit the stage. He has made his mark, but now is the right time to say, look, you've got this thing off the ground, but no one is going to talk unless there's an adult in the room that can actually try to mend fences." So Rory does acknowledge that Norman got the tour off the ground, but now is the time for someone more capable. And like he said, an adult in the room, so in this context he was probably saying the Rebel League needed someone more mature. Of course, it's his opinion, but considering the sacrifices Greg has made and the criticism he has endured, maybe the Australian pro golfer doesn't need to be booted out. But now, it's up to you. Do you think Norman's work speaks for him to remain as LIV's chief executive? We'll catch you in the next one.